60% of the jobs that are going to be there in 5 years do not exist today.
Hey everyone, welcome to Homebase. We got Lawrence Bugg today on the call. He's building an interesting product focused on the youth of this world, helping them upskill and land jobs, potentially skipping college and whatnot and going directly into workforce. So Lawrence, maybe you can tell your story a little bit better than what I just did. So just let us know what you're working on, who is it for, what problem does it solve, and then we'll kind of dive into how that might be applicable to some of our readers and whatnot. Sounds good?
Yeah, sounds good. I think you're entirely right with that frame up. So this is really born out of my experience going directly from high school into the workforce, and then later competing in Silicon Valley with people with these great backgrounds and sort of marquee schools, Stanford and so forth, on their resume, and wondering just how can I showcase my skills and my interpersonal skills and management skills, critical thinking, creativity, and all these things to be able to compete for these jobs and positions with these companies. And that's where the idea for Future State University was born. So really, we are focused on people going directly from high school into the workforce, or let's say from could also be from colleges as well, if you want an additional resume to showcase who you are. So really think of FSU as a much deeper, the FSU career profile is a much deeper data-driven resume that's going to showcase all of these other executive function and job readiness skills that companies are looking for, especially in the age of AI and automation, right? So companies are really looking for people who have deep critical thinking skills and problem-solving skills. Um, yeah.
Oh, tell me a little bit about yourself, because I'm looking at your background and you had a really successful career. You worked at Oracle, McKinsey, but did you go to college or what's your story there?
Yeah, did not go to college. Self-taught, really reading books and networking with people and having mentors throughout my life. And so again, yeah, it goes to this idea of being self-taught and pulling in mentors and just learning by doing things is the way that I've really figured out how to be I would say a salesperson, inventor, marketer, and I guess entrepreneur sort of wrapped around that.
Got it. Got it. So how did you get your first job? Because for example, when I graduated college, um, I was kind of, it was my mom's wish to go to university, but thinking back to it now, if I could have skipped that, I feel like I would have been much further ahead in life. And I'm looking at your profile, it seems like that's what you did. So just curious, how did you, at the time when diplomas were kind of a big deal, how did you land your first job and then progress through the career?
I think
With
regardless of if you have a college degree or in that cachet or not, you see the same through line with a lot of people that have been successful. And I was just listening to A16Z and the founders talk about how they got into their positions and started their first companies and so forth. Is networking, right? And building trust with somebody who sees potential in you. And so really, I think these days a lot of people tend to be behind the screen and not get out there and meet with people. For me, I was actually doing a personal training. I was working at a gym, and this person that I was training, this was back in the early 2000s, was selling software for Microsoft and making a ton of money. And I was like, okay, shit, I want to be like this guy. And so I just really asked him, like, how did you get there? How did you do it? He ended up giving me a card, a business card for a recruiter to get into sales, and got into sales and just worked really hard and did quite well and didn't look back.
Amazing. Sounds good. And so you mentioned you worked at a company that had an exit. Tell me a little bit about that. Who bought the company? What was the company about? How did you
Yeah,
end up
so
there?
and this is where sort of being an opportunist and taking those opportunities that might not be the thing that you think that you want, whether it's a big company or what have you. This company happened to be really just sort of a fledgling company doing a very new thing. So it was one of the first iPad-based point of sale systems, POS systems. for restaurants. Typically, they're like these big, massive systems. They're very expensive. You can't take them around to the tables. So I said, okay, I can see the potential here. And it was based out of New York. They wanted to expand sales in San Francisco and New York. So I helped them with that. We created a whole sales platform, sales and marketing platform. We did everything from major partnerships with larger restaurants and restaurant groups to actually just feet on the street, knocking on doors to smaller restaurants and getting this iPad point of sale system out there. So once we got a sizable adoption, that's when we got noticed by Groupon. A lot of people don't remember Groupon, but it was one of the fastest growing companies in history, so startups in history at the time. I'm pretty sure it's been eclipsed by a couple companies now. But this is 2013, and they acquired the company. I stuck around for another year or so with Groupon, and then it ended up going out and recruiting or consulting for early stage companies.
Got it. Got it. That's cool. Sounds good. Okay, so yeah, I mean, like, tell me, you've tried a couple of different other startups. What did you like? What happened there? Did they take off? Did they not take off? Like, did they like? Because I see you founded Hire Club. Like, what was that all about?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Hire Club. That is so yes, essentially a platform for independent recruiters and offshore teams to be able to access companies. So we're essentially that bridge with a human in the loop of having these independent recruiters, giving them a place to get access also to more companies. And so that went okay for quite a while. A very very competitive space. I think we didn't get the technology quite right. There's some internal communication issues with the team. So there's a lot of things to consider for a startup to make it go right. But yeah, I think knowing that in advance, you can sort of push on the walls as hard as you can, right? But sometimes it's not meant to work out, and you really have to know what is the difference, at that point where is it not working because of something that's not right with the team or the product, or is the market opportunity not there, or do I just need to push harder? In that case, we pushed very very hard, just wasn't able to get it going.
Yeah, so tell me, like, because I run a similar company, right? Like, we do recruiting and staffing, and we're building some technology behind it. And sometimes I'm just like, how the fuck did I end up, sorry for my language, doing recruiting? Like, I didn't because I used to be a business development person as well. And so one day I woke up and there's a little bit of a backstory there in a sense of like I outsourced some product idea and it came back kind of crap. We tried to use some dev shops in India and didn't work out. Like, the product that we got was unusable. And so one day I decided, what, like I want to have my own team, employ like, A players, build a rock star team. And to some extent, like we have achieved all of that. Like we work with like pretty big companies, with really solid startups. But honestly, like I don't know how I ended up in this position. The growth wasn't fast. Uh, and so I feel like for the first 2 or 3 years, I was kind of paying into the business just to learn how this business works. Did you guys have something similar, or did you just not like it wasn't growing fast enough, and you like how far did you get with the company? Just curious.
Yeah, we were at it for about a year, and I would say if I could sort of guesstimate what you possibly went through in that period is really a period of building trust,
Mm,
because these companies, you need a solid process for vetting these candidates, right? Going into these companies, and a solid track record of being able to do that, right? And that takes time. You need a really, typically a big client to give you an opportunity to prove that trust out, right? So once you get in and once you do that, then you can have a pretty solid business. But the way that we were trying to do it more high frequency at scale,
mhm.
I think is a lot more yeah, a lot harder challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. Did that company have any influence on what you're doing now, or is it
Yeah. Yeah,
okay?
absolutely. Because
And
one of the big things that we were running into was companies saying, well, okay, so I see this person's LinkedIn profile, maybe some of their GitHub or something like that, right? But how do I know? How do I know that they're truly vetted? And so having this additional tool of Future State University is a company we're working on now to be able to assess people on many different paradigms over time, not only just their coding skills, but how do they actually get along in the workplace, their communication skills, and so forth. That really led to that was a nexus to building this product as well. Yeah.
got it, got it. So yeah, tell me a little bit about your business. Like who, like what's your supply side in the sense of like who are you targeting in terms of candidates? Like are they high school kids? Like are they international? Are they US based? And like what are the challenges that you're running into there, if any?
Completely, completely. So first, I guess I'll tell a little bit about what exactly we're doing. So State University is the next generation social, professional social network. So essentially LinkedIn for Gen Z in an AI university inside of a 3D multiplayer game. And so we will be mobile, but we're mainly desktop right now. And so essentially you're able to go in and connect with other people, learn on a learning journey towards a career, and then have a FSU career profile at the end of that, which shows much deeper than a resume can, right? Resume is essentially self-reporting, and one resume looks very similar to the next, and who you are as a person really isn't represented. So we're able to represent it in many different areas. So the where we are right now, we are working with schools K through 12. I believe it or not, yeah, even first graders are looking at, they call it CTE, which is Career and Technology Education. And essentially, we're a guidance counselor for them as well. So they can go and talk to our main character, Hey Teach, which is our main AI guide that guides you on your career quest. And they can figure out, okay, so we're answering the question of what the hell am I going to do with my life after high school? And that question is getting more pernicious in the age of AI and automation. 60% of the jobs that are going to be there in 5 years do not exist today. So if you're in middle school right now, you really don't, you can't say this is what I want to do with my life, right? And so we are presenting jobs that are going to be growing in the age of AI and automation. But so we're working with schools K through 12 and boot camps as well, to help them skill people into these jobs and give them another way to showcase themselves.
Got it. Have you raised any funding, or is that something that you plan on doing?
So it's interesting. This is a big topic of conversation in Silicon Valley right now. Should you raise money at all, right? We're told that you should go as soon as you open your idea up, go focus on fundraising, which I did that for a while, and it's a bear market right now, so it was like raising early stage funds and angel funds was quite hard. I said, well, you know what? This is wasting so much time. I'm just going to go build a product, hire a team. So we actually hired a team on equity, which
Okay.
is very fortunate. We have a great mission, so it attracted some great people. We spent the last 8 months or so building this product. We're actually taking it to market now. We have paid customers. Um, we're thinking about raising a pre-seed, roughly $3 million, mainly because we're a game and games take a lot of money to build the art. Art is actually very expensive.
Got it. Got it. Sounds cool. Sounds cool. Um, Tell me, so who is your customer? Like, who pays you? Like, who is your customer? How do
Yeah,
you
so
make
really,
money? Or
yeah,
how do you plan on making money?
yeah. So we just signed our first customer at boot camp,
Okay.
and it's called Dev Mission. It's here in San Francisco. They work with people generally 17 years old to 24 years old, helping them get into careers, and they teach them all sorts of different things. And then so you can imagine how that extrapolates out to schools. So we have essentially we're launching in 2 weeks, and we have several K through 12 schools, a handful of those waiting in line, and we're just doing biz dev and adding in more schools now, really.
Okay. Got it. Got it. Yeah, I got a buddy. They used to be our client. He runs a company called Strange Loop Games, and they developed a game called Echo, and it's kind of like a simulation game helping kids or even adults build cities that are uh, kind of like e- not echo, but yeah, they're like they're green, cities that basically help uh, create a better world, so to say, right? Like where the waste or that's limited on waste, that's that has like a healthy balance of nature and stuff like that, which is the opposite that we do like as humans, right? Like we create waste, right? Whereas there is the opposite, right? Like you get credits for building a more eco-friendly city, right? And so he was able to do a successful Kickstarter, uh, actually maybe even a couple of times, and he's been able to get a few different grants from like United States as well as like the university that I believe he went to. So that's like one way. Instead of raising money, like that's one way to go. If you can run a successful Kickstarter, get grants from the United States. I don't know. Is that something that you've tried by any chance, or?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, we're about to get into some grant research as well. Lengthy process, most of them, right? But definitely something we're looking into.
Yeah. So yeah, that's like one way to go. I mean, it seems like there's, they've been doing pretty good for like the company's been around since 2008. They're not like, hyper scaling or anything of that sort, as far as I know, but the company is stable and it solves an interesting problem, and it has a positive impact on the world. So I can see something like that for you guys as well. So okay, in terms of kind of like any challenges that you're running into besides fundraising, like how like have you talked to the students, or like have they used the product? Is the product functional as of right now or not yet?
It is functional. It has been functional. We did an alpha test back in December,
Uh-huh.
and then we went and basically added in all those features that were requested, and really got the whole gameplay loop working. And we're going to relaunch that in the next 2 weeks to these schools. So I think like in terms of challenges outside of fundraising, um, for for the past year for us, I guess this really ties into fundraising to an extent, but because we've been bootstrapped, you know, keeping the team engaged, keeping the team focused on the next milestone. I think,
Mhm.
especially if you're bootstrapped, is an important, a very difficult challenge, and there's definitely an art to that, right?
Mhm. Got it. So can you walk me through like I guess like how the product works? Like I'm a big believer in what you're building. Like a little bit background about me. I came here to the United States as an immigrant. My parents weren't really around, and so no one really showed me the way. Like I had like a predetermined mindset, and so I promised my mom that I would go to college here and get a job. But if I had to go back in time, honestly, I feel like that kind of set me back in things that I could have achieved if I decided to go directly into work. I feel like I can learn faster that way, and I feel like your platform allows someone to do that, right? But I'm just guessing here. Can you walk me, like, for example, hey, I'm a 16-year-old kid, kind of lost out there. I don't have too much good advice from like my parents or my peers. How would this platform help me land a better job or upskill myself to where I know what like I can pursue something that's worth pursuing, and is like it's going to allow me to be successful in the new AI era, especially, right? Where um, like things, the way things were run 10 years ago are completely different now, right? Products can be built faster, information moves at a speed of light. Like reports that used to take a month to write up now can be done in a minute. So how would your platform prepare me for this current world that we're living in? Can you paint a picture?
Completely. And to prepare people for the future of work in the age of AI, we are an AI first game. And so the the system is set up in such a way that the more that you interact with it, the smarter that it gets in terms of its ability to help you understand yourself. And so I think self understanding, a deeper understanding of who you are, what your skills and traits are, we reflect that back to our, we don't call them users, we call them learners, as early and often as we can to show you, okay, here's your progress, here's some of your good traits, and these are the things that you need to focus on. And by the way, here's the careers out of these, let's say 1,000 careers that we've researched that are going to be the growing careers over the next 5, 10 years and not decline in the age of AI and automation. Um, you have that aha moment of like, here's some directions that I can go in. As a 16-year-old, and this has been true for most of history, you don't know what jobs are out there unless it's like blacksmith and whatever, a handful of jobs back in the day. But these days, the jobs landscape is just massive, right? So what exactly should I go after? So this allows you to start exploring jobs. The younger, and we're starting to see first graders even coming into this platform and exploring different careers. So I think career exploration and understanding what the jobs landscapes are and which jobs match me, learning towards those jobs, right, in our AI classrooms and all the content that we have that actually can teach you how to get into those jobs, and again, self discovery and networking inside of our platform as well.
I got it. Sounds cool. Sounds cool. Yeah, like one thing that I'm always like wondering, because like I was talking to my wife, because we have a 3 year old or almost 3 year old, and
Love
honestly,
to you.
like, yeah, honestly, like I don't, like I don't know what we could say to her like in the coming years that she should focus on, for example, or in the future, or like because the world is changing so fast, right? Like, and so one of the problems that I think happened with my parents, we grew up in a communist country, and for whatever reason, they thought that having a degree in political science was something super prestigious. And like, you come to the US, like, like a political science degree is kind of, I don't know, not worthless, but it's not too far from it, right? And so if I took, I mean, I didn't graduate with political science. I graduated with something my other buddy advised me to do, which was also kind of a mistake. So I'm just curious, how, like, how can this platform help someone choose something that could be in demand when we don't even know what the future holds in uh, like in kind of like in workforce, right? Like we don't know if engineers are going to be in demand, like we don't know like if TikTok creators are going to be in demand. Like is there any kind of mechanism that helps them explore their passion maybe, or how does the platform determine what they should focus on, or like how, like what could be successful for them?
Completely, yeah. And you touched on something that's really interesting that we've discovered recently, which is I was talking with a teacher. It's her first grade class, and she suggested that she gives FSU to her sister, who's 16,
Mhm.
and then also to her brother, which is she's trying to figure out what he wants to do. But her sister's boyfriend's mom is an RN and registered nurse, and so her boyfriend says to her, "Well, you should do this. I think you'd be good at this job." Because yeah, people tend to give you ideas to do jobs of things that they know, like you were saying your family did, right?
Mhm.
Or your dad was a lawyer, so you become a lawyer, right? But is that necessarily the right thing for you? So then, how do we start to decide what are the ideal careers for you, right? And so there's a process of exploration there. So we start the game with you talk to Hey Teach, the main character, and we get some baseline questions of your best subjects, what your interests are, and based on that, we take and we match using RAG recommendation systems and match you with those careers that we've done the research on. We do know a fair bit about what is going to happen in the future in terms of jobs and what jobs are going to increase versus decrease. Certainly, things that doing repetitive types of activities can be automated either by robots or by LLMs. But the careers that engage in a lot of critical thinking,
Hmm.
creativity, communication, human communication are a lot of very important jobs, but also building things, building AI along with, let's say, HVAC, right? The
Hmm.
sort of, they call it full stack AI, where it's actually full stack hardware software. So mixing AI in with things that are traditionally hardware. There's a lot of hardware jobs coming up, blue collar, if you will, that are very interesting. And there's a big movement towards blue collar jobs with high school graduates now. So um,
Hmm.
yeah, we've hired some experts on as well to help us with this research, and we have a pretty good sense of. And this is an always shape shifting list of careers, right? So we can
Hmm.
continue to prune this and add new ones, but we feel pretty good about the list we have now.
Got it. Got it. Sounds good. By the way, how much time do you have? Like, I know like, do you have like another 20 minutes or 15, or do you got to go in a few minutes here?
Yeah, I think in a few minutes. Yeah, we had till like 3:30, and yeah.
Okay, so yeah, if we need to wrap up, then in that case, yeah, one other question that I had is like, what's your outlook on like the education system? Like, what's going to happen to universities? Like, it seems like they're kind of falling behind, and they're not really providing the value that they once used to back in the day, right? Like, you're not guaranteed to have a job after graduating from college unless you went to some top school. Like, what's your thoughts there?
Yeah, completely. Most students went to school for as legal, as lawyers, law degrees, or computer science, right? And both of those things are being massively disrupted by AI. I believe, as I think many do, that the tier one schools, let's say the best schools out there, are going to continue to thrive and do well because we need those deep thinkers and deep research at those schools. But the tier three and below schools are already seeing a drop in attendance, in applications, and so yes, I would say that the outside of sort of the Ivy Leagues and those top tier schools, that you're going to see a pretty big disruption over the next 2 years, which will open up a big opportunity for future state university.
Got it. Cool, cool. Well, okay. I guess last question. Like, we have a growing community. If there's someone you need to connect with, like, who are you looking to connect with now? Like, who are the interesting people you want to talk to? Are you looking to fundraise, or like more so just talk to other customers? Like, what's your goal here?
Yeah, I think talk to customers. We're working with companies as a upskilling tool and as a hiring tool, but also any sort of education institution that wants to have a career technology education platform in their school. Yeah, schools and companies.
Okay, cool, cool. Thanks for coming on the call. I think you're solving a huge problem. uh, but yeah, maybe we'll have to catch up in the future to see how far your product comes along. Sounds good.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Thanks for having me on.